Welcome back to the second Death Diary, and we are talking about traffic AI for Cities Skylines 2 today. As last time, we'll watch the video together and we'll stop here and there to talk about some of these points and uncover everything that's hidden on the video and on the Death Diary itself. So let's jump into it.
People are the lifeblood of your city. As they move through it, they set the city's pulse. Not in the cold rhythms of code, but with the variability and pace of a real city. So you should expect the same order and chaos that emerges when countless individual decisions are made all at once. It's a level of vibrant realism you've never seen before, and it's powered by the deep simulation of traffic AI.
That's one of the, we had a quick view of this view in Cities Skylines 2, which is the traffic AI. There'll be more information about this in a second, but it's important to note that you have two types of view. You have traffic flow and traffic volume, so we will dive into it in a second.
How people move from A to B in your city is called pathfinding. Previously, pathfinding.
Whoa! I don't know if you noticed, we are looking at this car, but look at that truck over there. I'll go back a little bit and look at what it's doing.
Previously, pathfinding meant
It was in here, went there, and then went back to the right lane there. Crazy, crazy. I'll show you that again. Let's go from here.
previously
Look at this.
pathfinding meant choosing the shortest
Whoa.
route by distance. But ignoring factors like travel time and traffic congestion was less than ideal. Pathfinding has changed. In Cities Skylines 2, four main factors influence how people move through your city.
So before we go into the main factors that will change how citizens will actually want to go to their destinations, something to look at in here are the train tracks. They look a lot better than Cities Skylines 1. And I also want to show you that you have the road barriers in there to crossing those lines. Interesting, everyone waiting in here. We have these lines limiting the area as well. We have some in the middle, I think, because you have like multiple crossings in there. Feels like you go a little bit further up to cross it in there, and then you have like this low point as you have two joining in here, which looks a little bit weird, but the boom gates, they also work nicely.
Skylines 2,
Look at that.
Four main factors influence how people
smooth.
move through your city. These factors are called pathfinding costs. People weigh up these costs to decide where to go and how to get there. The path with the lowest cost is the path they choose. But how people weigh up these costs is very different. To help you understand, let's walk through the four pathfinding costs.
So you basically have four pathfinding costs to decide where you go. And they are time, comfort, money, and behavior. So before in Cities Skylines 1, what you would have is basically the shortest or quickest distance to or pathfinding to get to your destination, and they would stick to that. And one important thing now is that, well, two important things is that you have four aspects, and they are again time, comfort, money, and behavior. And they will recalculate throughout the journey to see, for example, there is a traffic accident, or that is a better way, or there is traffic on the way, and they can find better ways to get in there. But that is also a slightly difference in behavior from civilian vehicles and service vehicles, especially if you are police, fire truck, or ambulance. Those three, they will actually be able to, what they're calling to do dangerous driving, which is basically break the rules and do U-turns where it's not possible and things like that to find an even quicker way to get to those places. But let's get into more details from this. And love the boats in there as well, or ship going into this region. Really, really nice.
Time is usually the most important path.
Now, they're talking about time, but one thing that we should stop seeing very soon is those bicycles here without anyone in there. I say bicycle, motorcycles, sorry. But it's pretty weird seeing them driving along without anyone driving them. And by the way, there is quite a lot of motorcycles in the game. I think we need to balance that a little bit as well. Feels like way too many. I don't know if it depends on what you have in the city or what that is, but it feels like we have way too many compared to, well, any other city that I actually been to. So yeah, let's go back to this.
Finding cost. Everyone will pick their quickest route to their destination if they can. Comfort is another pathfinding cost. Who doesn't want a smooth journey? Wouldn't you avoid tricky intersections if you could?
I just want to take another look at this. As I was looking at this, I was like, oh, what is this traffic? They're getting to here, split in two lanes, and things like these breaks. Oh, everyone is actually trying to get into this one lane. And then this, you have like an exit and an in. And this is like usually a scenario for traffic jams because people are trying to just crossing paths in here. The ones in the ramp, they're trying to get into the highway, and the ones in the highway, they're trying to get out. So just get into each other's way. And this usually causes traffic jams. All right. Logically speaking, the rules are the same.
Good. The availability, convenience, and cost of parking will now impact where people choose to go and how to get there.
All right. Good thing to pay attention here. You have parking fees now, along with several different types of parking buildings. You have underground, you have multi-story parking, you have parking in the buildings themselves. As you can see the number of parked vehicles in that specific car park, which is kind of weird, by the way, because we do have more space available. They say that we have 60 parking spots in here, but I can see that we have one, two, three, four, at least four parking space available, and it's telling me two. Maybe it's something that still needs to be fixed, but we'll see. Another thing that I think might be a little bit confusing when understanding how much you'll be charged for something. The upkeep for this is monthly, and the money that you see here, the money flow, is actually hourly. So that'll be a little bit confusing when you try to calculate things. And looking by the time of the day, I guess we'll have 24 hours per day. So is this like 1,500 per month? Is that divided by what? 30, 31? If it's February, it's 28. How do they calculate that? And then that is divided by 24 hours per day. So it's like it's a bit weird to do those calculations, but it's all right. I'll take it. Comfort, it tells you comfort in there as well, which I think is the bonus. I think the word is wrong in there because like what does a parking provide in comfort? Maybe it's just how close it is to places that people want to go. I would think so, but I think that is still something to see in there. Also, don't know what these symbols mean in there, but we might know more later on about this. Something to keep in mind, the more expensive it is, the more for the wealthy people the car park will be. But that's not all. You have teens, you have adults, and you have elderly people. So teens usually will search for a place where they can go costs less. Adults will search for a place where they can get there faster, and elderly will choose comfort, and they will be keen on paying higher parking fees as well. So this will all affect on how people select that means of transportation. That could be private cars, public transportation, or just walking. So this all will play a different aspect in the game. It'll be really challenging for every single one of us to learn all of this and make the best out of this system. But that's it.
Easy parking is actually the deciding factor for some people when choosing where to socialize and spend their money. That's another pathfinding cost: money. Fuel, parking, and public transport tickets can seriously add up. So it's a factor in where people choose to go and how they get there. The final factor influencing pathfinding is behavior, or how likely people are to engage in risky maneuvers on the road.
The behavior.
Turns, lane hopping, and speeding.
Look at this U-turn. Like, it's just crossing everything. It's what seems to be, feels like a highway in here, where you have tram roads, and it's doing a U-turn through the tram roads. That's crazy. And it's pretty cool at the same time.
Turns, lane hopping, and speeding can reduce travel times, lower fuel consumption, and avoid some of the inconvenient aspects of travel. To keep pathfinding costs low.
Hold on. We have to go back a little bit because I saw a lot of people in here, and it's quite interesting. By the way, I don't know if that's an Easter egg or not, but Chirper Street, love it. These road signs look great, and I've seen some place. I'll see if I can find that again. That you have road numbers as well, so each building has a street number as well, and that's pretty cool.
Costs low.
And another thing in here that we have to look at is, if you look at this, your vehicles, they have the owner and destination, as we always knew, but they also have a patient now. So they're not just going to a destination. The citizen instance is actually it's playing an important role in the pathfinding in here. So why are you going to that building? Because there is a patient in there, and this patient is actually the one that is going to be moved by in this case, the ambulance.
People will reroute if something happens on their journey.
Oh, I think there you are. If you look at this, you have the street number in there as your mouse over the buildings on those roads. That's pretty cool, actually. I really like that.
On their journey.
We have a traffic accident in there, and while they're talking about making the U-turn to avoid the accidents in there, so as I mentioned before, cars, vehicles will do and recalculate their pathfinding along the route. So you have something like this where the road is completely blocked, then they will try to find a new way. That car, by the way, is completely flat. But this scene over here, this also answers one of the things that I mentioned in the previous episode. You don't just need the ambulance going through this. You have in this specific case, you have a police car, you have a fire truck, and in some cases, as they mentioned in the dev diary, they also send the ambulance in there as well. So you can have multiple services attending just one traffic accident area.
Example, if they get caught behind a traffic accident that takes too long to clear, they'll find another way to get where they're going.
Awesome.
Hang on. Traffic accidents?
Yes.
Right? So, drivers can lose control and crash their vehicles into traffic and buildings. Yikes. You see, things like wet roads, extreme weather events, and the time of day can increase the risk of a collision.
Yep.
But it's actually poor road conditions that should keep you awake at night. Want to reduce the risk of serious mishaps?
So road conditions play a huge role. That's the word I'm looking for in the game. And I'm really keen to see what happens in there. Oh, I just went back to this view in here because I was looking, what is this line crossing here? But that is a bridge or a viaduct or something like that in there. That's all right.
Risk of serious mishaps? Send your road maintenance crew out ASAP. Traffic AI has improved pathfinding so much that you can now grow a larger population. But remember, a big population brings opportunities and challenges. Two info views.
Before we go into the info views, look at this. We have water pollution here. I saw some people asking about how that would look like. And this is how this would look like. So you have water pollution there playing a role on how things look like. And yeah, I'm still like love that you have some sort of reflection in the water as well from the buildings. That looks really, really cool.
And help you plan and react when life takes a left turn.
Another thing that's quite good in here, as you can see, lots of car parks, so you can easily see where you do have those car parks available. You have availability for car parks as well, and how much money you are making from that. So this is another source of income for you. And you have the option to remove the parking spot, the maintenance depots. I can't find one in the view in here, but they are the road maintenance vehicles, so you can potentially find some driving through in there. And the road condition, these are the colors on the road in here that will tell you where you might have more problems.
Traffic info view takes the guesswork out of.
Also, we do have traffic flow depending on the hour of the day. So you can have rush hours and your traffic can increase those hours as well. You have how traffic flow is in there. So these areas, for example, you have bad traffic flow, and these areas you have better traffic flow. And you also have traffic volume that you can turn on and off and see how that affects your traffic, overall traffic.
Traffic management. It delivers a real-time overview of how much traffic is on your road network and traffic, so you can resolve problems quickly. Deep simulation transforms the movement of people, goods, and services through your city into the pulsing reality of a living, breathing city.
I don't know if you noticed this, but you have high beams in there, and then you don't. And so they really turn the high beams
living,
off,
city.
And then you see it turns on again when they go through the bus. So this is actually awesome. Just a very small detail, but makes a lot of difference.
That is always a response to the world around them. A world of your creation.
And there we go. We get to the end of the video, but it's not the end of the road for us, because we do have some other things that we want to talk about based on the actual dev diary. So just confirming, the main difference between Cities Skylines 1 and Cities Skylines 2 is that on Cities Skylines 1, the pathfinding was proximity-based, that meaning that every single agent would calculate their destination based on distance themselves, and that would just be done once when that response was triggered. For example, if a fire truck needs to go to a building that's on fire, that'll be decided as soon as the call is made. And then after that, if there is a traffic jam or anything, the fire truck will be stuck in there and your building will be burned down to the ground. And now what happens, they will recalculate routes along the way. They will find different ways. They'll consider things like traffic accidents, road condition, traffic jams, distance, all that sort of stuff, to make sure that they are able to get where they want to go when they want to go, when they want to be there, rather. So that is a lot more things that go into the calculation and what they call pathfinding costs for the route that the vehicle or agent is actually taking to get to the destination. And talk about pathfinding costs, as I mentioned, we have 4 items. We have time, which is potentially the most important of all agents, as everyone wants to go as fast as possible to their route. We have the comfort, and comfort is basically how smooth the route is, which means avoiding unnecessary turns at intersections and finding suitable parking spots or public transport near to the location where they want to go. Money is the third one, and it comes in the form of, this is interesting, fuel usage and potential parking fees. Now, I don't know what they are calling fuel usage. I don't think cars will have like a tank of fuel, for example. I think they just calculate the costs for a distance. Like say if they go 1 kilometer away, it might cost X in terms of fuel, and if they go 10, it costs 10x. So I think they just calculate it in that way. But then you have the parking costs as well, which plays a big role in that one. Interesting enough, for delivery vehicles, the cost of resource will increase the further away they have to go to deliver something. So a result of that is that selling resource locally in the neighborhood or in the origin area is more cost efficient than actually sending trucks to an outside connection, for example, which is great because then it makes sure that everything that you're building in the city will prioritize being sold in, internally in the city instead of sending that away. So this eliminates the necessity of using mods straight away. So that's fantastic. One less mod for us to use there. And then finally, we have the behavior. So behavior is the willingness to make dangerous decisions in traffic. As you could see, things like U-turns or how they change lanes and how they decide to avoid traffic rules to get to their destination, and even speeding is one of the factors that we have in there. That's absolutely fantastic. As I mentioned, there is also a factor for teens, adults, and seniors. Teens, they want to spend less money. Adults value more time, so the quickest route will be the best. And senior will prefer high comfort level. Now, lane usage is one of the biggest complaints in Cities Skylines 1 because everyone will try to use the same lane. On Cities Skylines 2, that will change. So that is it's a broader choice of road utilization, and cars will try to select different roads or lanes available if there is a lot of traffic already in one of the lanes. So that means that we'll expand the usage of lanes and use the whole road network, eliminating that like snake traffic that we usually had in Cities Skylines 1. This will also make things look more realistic and traffic flow a lot better as well. Vehicles can also overtake slower vehicles in the same lane, or if they have an accident blocking one specific lane, they can choose other lanes, or they can select different routes to avoid the accident altogether. There's also one small detail that cars may change lanes to free the one lane for emergency vehicles, and which like just imitates the behavior in real life as well, and that's quite cool. Now, one of the things that comes to mind is that because of all these calculations that happens now every single time for every single vehicle, that the game would run slower than Cities Skylines 1, but they are making sure that we actually know that although there is a lot more calculations going into play in here, the actual calculations, they're actually faster than in Cities Skylines 2 and more efficient. So there is actually higher performance across the board in pathfinding and simulation. And now the game takes more advantage of the multi-core CPUs. So before they were mostly using one core of the game, of the CPU of the computer. Now they use all the threads to spread all these calculations across all the cores, and this happens much more efficient, much faster, and it enables your city to grow even more, which then unlocks a major improvement for the game, which is not having any more hard limits for agents moving in the city. So if you try to make like the biggest city possible, you'll probably face hard limitations in the game with the number of agents, and agents, I mean citizen agents, unipathing agents in the game. So basically each individual citizen was one agent that would add to vehicles, and pathfinding, it doesn't exist anymore. The limit now is how much your computer can handle, and that's fantastic. Now, roundabouts, we have more news about roundabouts, and that's quite cool. In the last diary, they showed us how that can be used and how that can be improved in terms of setting up your road network, but they're also saying that when you do it, it takes into account all the rules regarding vehicles entering and exiting the roundabouts. So this is all set up just like in real life, and which is basically how we all set up that in the Cities Skylines one as well. And for the vehicles, we still try to get into the roundabout as fast as they can if there is a small gap between vehicles already in the roundabout as well, which makes the traffic flow a little bit better. In terms of traffic accidents, as you've seen, maintenance of roads is potentially one of the biggest things, but there is also weather conditions like rain or snow, and also lights available. So if it's night and if you don't have traffic lights on your roads, this is a factor. Now, the way that happens, it's basically the game will check road segments, and if there is a successful check for a road accident, then in that select segment, the game will randomly select one vehicle to kind of lose control. And then the vehicle will be pushed in a random direction, and they will have simple collision and physics to allow it to hit objects along the way. And if it hits another vehicle, for example, that vehicle will also gain physics and will be able to collide with other objects, including buildings, by the way. It's not just cars. I don't know people. Now, parking will play a big role. As we mentioned, costs is one of the main things, but people will also select means of transportation based on the availability of parking in the area and obviously costs. So if they don't have enough parking in the area, they might choose to go to other places for shopping and leisure, by the way. So keep that in mind. It's not just like don't have parking at all and then they will go with public transportation. It's not just that. They might just choose to go to somewhere else. And if you have a popular place or a place that you want people to visit more often, then you may need to provide more parking options in there. Now, based on the traffic flow and traffic volume, if you saw my builds, I rarely used any road larger than 4-lane two-way road, which means two lanes each way. And I never needed anything bigger than that. But it seems that we might need that now, especially with the new AI utilizing all the lanes available. This might become more common to see areas where you have larger roads, and that will be more utilized as well. So I'm really keen to see how that works and how I'm be able to use better or larger roads in the road network as well. Now, one thing that's interesting, you'll probably see on the next dev diary, but they touch on this in here, is that public transportation vehicles, obviously they travel on the designated lines with the exception of taxis, which follow routes more or less similar to private vehicles. Now, taxis, initially they pick up fares at taxi stands only, but if you do an upgrade on the taxi depot, they can pick up fares anywhere in the city. There's also an option where service vehicle operations can be limited to player-created districts. So you basically create a suburb and you can tell your services to just work in that specific district. So basically what I've done with all my death care, for example, restricting that to just collect that people in that specific district. So I could create more areas and make it work a little bit better, so we don't have those huge death waves where we don't have any cars to pick that up, or the car that's coming is just on the other side of the city and that will never reach the destination. So this is really, really good. You can do that on one specific district, multiple districts, or as default in the entire city if you don't set anything up. So that's quite good. And again, one less mod that will need to use in your city. Now, traffic between cities, what we call dummy traffic in Cities Skylines 1, it's still there. and they will work very similarly to what you would have nowadays. The only difference is now that you can add outside connections anywhere you want, and it's just kind of weird that when you do the outside connections, they say that you can do it on the edge tiles, which also means that you can still see further away in the map where the road finished there, and there is no continuity, and just weird that the road will just finish at the edge in there and then stop, but you can still see a piece of land behind that. I don't know, we'll have to see how that looks like when we get to the game, but this is something that I've noticed, and that might be something that we will have to play around. And that's all that we had for this dev diary for today. Quite a lot of interesting things for the traffic AI. Really happy with that. Let me know if you found anything else in the video. I think the only other thing that I forgot to mention is that I've seen a couple of helicopters going around, so that'll be in the base game as well. Quite happy with that as well. And for the next dev diary will be about public and cargo transportation, and I'll cover that when that comes out as well. But let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you saw anything else, if you have any questions as well. I might be able to answer some of them. But for now, I just want to thank you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.